Hey everybody, Celina Pompeani here. Welcome to another episode of From the Top, presented by Armina Stone. And I am here today with Matt Rost. He is the Regional Market Manager with NVR. Great to have you here today, Matt.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Now, you have been to the Cranberry showroom before, right?
I have. I actually came here for personal. So the beautiful showroom. You guys have done an outstanding job.
Well, we're happy to have you here in the building today and in our podcast studio. So going back to the company, NVR, tell me more about it. I know there's two separate sides to it. So tell me about the company and how you got started with NVR.
Sure. So there's the home building side, which is our primary focus. Then there's the lending side on the mortgage side. NVR started in 1948. Actually, Ed Ryan came back from World War II. Started the company, built his first home, and then once he built it, somebody said, "Hey, would you sell this to me?" So he sold it, and then said, "I can make some money at this." So it kept going from there. So NVR, how it got started was Dwight Shar was an employee at the time. He had left, moved to Northern Virginia, so that's where the NV comes from.
Makes
Started
sense.
NV Homes in Northern Virginia, and then came back and purchased Ryan Homes. So that's how the whole NVR.
Okay.
So we are currently in 17 states, mainly on the East Coast. The farthest west we go is Chicago, Nashville area, but all up and down the Eastern Seaboard. How I started, so I graduated from University of Maryland in 1999.
Great school.
Thank you. Then I worked for an advertising company out of New York, and I'd fly all over the place.
Where are you originally from?
I'm from Pittsburgh.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so I grew up in the South Hills of Pittsburgh, not too far from where I live now. Flew all over, thought, oh, this is going to be so much fun. 22 years old. Well, when you sleep in a hotel every night and eat out,
It gets old.
Yeah, it's not as fun as you think. So I actually, saw the opening for a sales representative for NVR, applied, and then that's how I started out. So I started out actually in the model selling the homes, did a short stint in production to understand the home building side. Then I moved into sales manager, general manager. Then I ran a division for 5 years, and I've been currently running the region for the last 8 years.
Wow. That's awesome. Well,
yeah.
Congratulations on
Thank
8
you.
years of that.
Yep.
That's impressive.
Well, thank you.
Matt, if I was in the market to buy a home right now, I mean, where would I start? Why do you make the process easier for me?
So a couple things. First place, most people start is the internet. When it comes to anything, everybody gets on the internet and think, oh, I'm going to Google this, look at it. So I would tell you that's generally where most people start. Then I think what they do is they try to figure out what location. Where do I want to live? Obviously, we're sitting in Cranberry right now. Cranberry is one of our most popular
It's
areas.
a hot area.
Yeah, it's so busy and so big, but it's great. So then once they figure it out, then they'll look and say, okay, they have 4 communities in Cranberry. What type of product do I want? What school? Schools in Pittsburgh is the main factor. When people always say to me, oh, well, if they're from Maryland or wherever, and it's like, they look at counties. Here, everything is school district driven.
It really is.
Somebody from Mount Lebanon would know that better than anybody else.
Yes.
So then once they figure out, okay, I want this school district in this area, what makes NVR so easy is you walk in, the models are fully decorated. Everything is completely designed.
That's what I want. I want to buy the model.
Right. There are opportunities for that. So, but then once you sit down with the sales rep, everything is kind of right there. You go through and they tell you everything that's included, different custom options that you have the opportunity to do. You don't have to, completely up to you. And then from there, once it all works out, then you go to a design center, similar to what you have here, but everything is there: flooring, countertops, everything. You pick everything.
Simple.
You pick everything. It's simple. You're done. Compared to certain custom builders where everything is you're picking as you go. So great experience from a custom side if you know what you're doing. If you don't and you don't have that type of time, it almost becomes a full-time job.
Yeah, it really does. And I would have no idea where to begin if I was doing a custom home. A good friend of mine just moved into a Heartland home, actually. It's stunning.
Oh, really?
I love it. Yep.
What neighborhood is that?
I should know the street name. She's actually in Oakdale. I should know the neighborhood.
Okay. All right.
I won't give away her name.
Don't know. She may not like that.
But it's a brand new plan.
Oh, good.
I'll find out. I was there a couple weeks ago, and it's great. I mean, absolutely brand new. She's one of the only ones in the neighborhood right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's great.
All right. Well,
Yeah,
we'll keep that
I'll
private.
find out we'll keep that
Yeah.
private. But she really loved it, and she loved her experience, just how easy it was getting everything picked out. If they felt like they didn't have to do much work, which is what you want.
That's what we want. And that's where the lending side comes in as well, is after you pick everything, you sit down with a trained loan officer and they go through the entire process and they hold your hand throughout it to make sure that, okay, here you go, here, everything's done in-house. So then when you come to the closing, it's simple. Mm-hmm. All the paperwork's exchanged, you sign your name a few times, and you obviously write the check, but you do sign your name and then you're done.
What's your favorite part about the job?
Mine is the land side. I thoroughly enjoy looking for the next property and then working with the developers on all the upfront. So the financial side of it, I truly enjoy. So I tell you, it's two. It's the land side, the upfront. You still get excited when you look at how do you take this piece of property and turn it into housing development. So that, and I really do. I know it's cliche, but I love the people. We have about 200 employees locally in Pittsburgh, and it's just a really good group of people. Mm-hmm. So from the sales, the production, office, all the different people from the lending side, it's a good group of people and they're fun to work with.
Mm-hmm. And right now, I know the last couple of years have been so crazy for all of us. How has it been for your company? What have you noticed, like the major changes?
So major changes. So we typically built anywhere from 1,000 to 1,100 homes a year here in Pittsburgh. So I oversee the Pittsburgh market and then a little bit of West Virginia, Morgantown. And this year and last year, we're closer to 1,500. So we're up about 35%. So in a normal time, you hire a little bit more people, you figure different things. But with COVID, it's just not as easy because all the materials take longer. Things that I never focused on in 18 years of my career, I'm worried about, like the party walls in between townhouses. Do we have the material and how delayed is it? Oh. Garage doors. Garage doors are like,
wow.
It's like you're trying to get gold right now when you get a garage door. So it's not something you ever had to think about. But
yeah. Well, I know lumber was a big issue. Is it still an issue?
It's starting to come down.
Oh, good.
At one point, it was up, almost double. But it has actually started to normalize a little bit in the last few months.
Mm-hmm. How quickly do you get one of your homes up?
So the typical building cycle for a Ryan home is about between 90 and 100 days.
That's amazing to me.
It's pretty quick, yeah.
Wow.
Our whole goal is the goal is for it to never sit one day without somebody working on it. Heartland takes a little bit longer, a little bit bigger. So, we're an extra few weeks on the Heartland side.
Yeah, that's amazing though.
Yeah, so the typical turnaround is usually from the time you would walk in the model, if you would say that day, I'm ready to buy, through the lending process and building is about 6 months.
Wow. Well, I know we were talking earlier about your wonderful family and you have 4 kids. Yes. I know they're still pretty young, approaching the teenage years, a couple of them. Do you think they would have any interest in getting into the business? Maybe they're too young to even know.
My second oldest is 12. She's in 7th grade, but she would love to be like an interior designer. She's always like asking, can I come to models with you? She loves walking around. If we're looking at different things, like, well, I would do this or I would do that. I'm like, no one's really asking you, but thank you for sharing your opinion.
That's impressive.
But yeah, she would definitely really enjoy it.
Oh, well, maybe I could work with her someday. I don't have an eye for that stuff. I love fashion. I love, styling myself, but styling a home is really challenging.
It is.
At least to me. My fiance is much better at it.
Mm-hmm.
He's pretty good.
I'm always impressed with our decorators. There's times when they paint a room and I'm like, what are they thinking? This looks like, well, and then it turns out great. They put it all together and I'm like, all right, that's why I don't get paid to do this.
Do you, in your home, do you have anything that you kind of were unsure of, or did you have help, I guess, with designing some of it? Or
my wife did 90% of it. So did she have a little bit of help? Yes.
Yeah.
But 90% of it she did, and she enjoys it too. So hey, that's your thing. I'm good.
Well, I know you have such a great relationship with Emre Bosman here at Armina Stone. How did the two of you meet, and how did you start working together?
So that's interesting. So I have just met him probably a year ago. He had always worked with our Heartland Homes division manager at the time, and with doing it during this whole COVID, we kind of looked and said, okay, well, which suppliers, which key partners are we do we want to reach out to? And so I kind of made a list, and I called him and I just said, hey, would you like to meet for lunch? And he said, I'll be there tomorrow. And I said, okay.
That's Emre.
I said, well, that's pretty prompt. I got to give him. So we went to Mount Lebanon, went to Il Pizzaiolo, not far from where you are.
I love it. It's my favorite restaurant, one of them. It's good.
And we sat and talked for 2 hours, and I was just so impressed by him and his story and just how he got started. And he told me about, kind of when he came over to the United States, and then what he did, and how when he worked in the Washington, D.C. market, how he took that and it came to Pittsburgh. And the part that really got me, he said, I had a business plan, but I think it was Carnegie Mellon, I could be wrong, somebody from Carnegie Mellon helped him write it. And then he went to the Chamber of Commerce and said, I want to get started. And they said, here's what you do. And then to think that was his vision X amount of years ago, and then you walk through this incredible showroom now, and you're like, this is truly, just so impressive what he's done.
I know. It's fast, too. Even from the time that I met him a few years ago, to see how everything has changed in such a short amount of time. I always say when he wants something done, he'll make it happen.
He will.
Like this podcast room.
Right.
Who would have thought we would have this great podcast here at Armina Stone?
Right. And the fact that this isn't this is obviously the, new crown jewel, but the fact that there's multiple other locations. I could tell you what really impresses me about this company is just the service. It's excellent service. From the products are obviously, they speak for themselves. They're fantastic. But you could have a good product and not service it.
Oh, yeah.
Or you could have a product that's not as good but be incredible at service. To do both is really the key to being successful. And I think that's what makes this company so successful.
I totally agree. How important is that to NVR too when dealing with your clients?
Huge. For us, since we started here in Pittsburgh, reputation is everything. So, we do surveys upon surveys, and sometimes I think to the point where people are like, do you really need to know all this? But it's trying to perfect what can we get better at. And I think, the key is partnering with good vendors, good quality trade partners like Armina Stone, and making sure that, okay, A, they do it right the first time. But then B, if there is a problem, that you get on it right away, that the customer's happy, and that it's service. Most people understand that you're building a house, there's 30,000 parts and pieces.
Yeah, things go wrong.
One or two things may go wrong, but it's how you fix it and how you respond.
So true. Even when I was a server back in my high school days, my boss at Giuliano's Pizzeria always told me that. I'll never forget that. And it's true, because even if there is something that goes wrong in a home, the way you respond, you could change their perspective totally.
Yes.
It could go either way.
Right. Yep.
That's the problem. Well, you have lived elsewhere other than Pittsburgh. You've worked in other cities, and you're on the East Coast mostly, the whole company. Why do you love working and living and raising a family in Pittsburgh so much over any other city?
I think for me, it's just, I was born and raised here. My whole family's here. And that's, I think, the unique part about Pittsburgh is it's a small town, even though it's a major city. But there's so many people that it's at 6 degrees of separation. You just know them. Like, oh, I know that person through, or they know somebody you went to high school or college with or whatever. So for me, I'm blessed that I'm one of 4 and all my siblings live here with all of their children. So, my kids have their cousins all around, aunts, uncles, grandparents. So, that kind of is what makes it home for me.
Yeah, that's what I said too. I've actually never lived anywhere else, but I don't know if I would want to. With everybody here,
right? I
would be lonely.
I always say I'd use all my vacation time traveling back here.
Exactly.
So I'd rather use my vacation time to go to somewhere in the islands or Florida and feel like I got away versus, I live somewhere else, but I had to use it to come home.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, I know you work out of many different areas of Pittsburgh, but you mentioned earlier Cranberry, and anywhere really up north is a very popular area right now. People want to move up here. You see a lot of young families moving up here. It's a great school district. So what do you think about the whole area here and really where Armina Stone is on 19 in the center of everything?
I mean, it truly is in the heart of everything.
It is.
What makes, the North, if you look at the data, the majority of the people who move in from out of town, they transfer in, they pick the North. Okay. I live in the South.
Me
Maybe
too.
I'm a little, I prefer, but that's just me.
It's either you're in the North or the South.
Right. Yes. And then, where I grew up, I was South, but also I knew the East very well. So I know the East, but there's other people who are like, the East, you have to Squirrel Hill tunnels? Are you kidding me?
That's what I say. Right? So far.
For me, I'm used to traveling, and we have so many plans throughout North, South, East, and West that for me, I got to know all the areas. But to answer your question, I think with the North, like you said, you have fantastic schools. And then you also have the benefit where if you're in Butler County, you have low taxes. So I think where Armina Stone here is located, you have a good school, you have low taxes, you're minutes from 79, you're minutes from the Turnpike, and all of your shopping is on Route 19. So you really don't go more than 20 minutes to get anywhere you would need to be.
It's not. I feel like that with Mount Lebanon as well, though.
Absolutely. And Mount Lebanon, the nice thing there is you're into the city so quick.
That is the nice
thing.
The
only thing that Mount Lebanon is lacking is available land for building. So if you want to build new, you're looking to tear down. You have to tear something down.
On my way here, I called my fiance. His name is Mac, and I said that to him. We were shooting a segment earlier, and we were talking about building a home because we'll probably need to move once we expand and have a family in a couple years. And we do love the area, but we would love to build, and you just can't really do it. I don't want to tear down a home. I'd rather get a fresh pot of land.
I think Mount Lebanon may be the only municipality, Swickley. Mount Lebanon and Swickley are the two that my career that we have not built something that in a desirable where you'd want to build. Just because I've done plans in Upper St. Clair, all over, but Mount Lebanon and Swickley are the two that there's just not enough land.
That's another area, Upper St. Clair. A friend of mine moved into a new plan there. It seems like that's an area that's kind of up and coming too.
There's not a lot of land there, but it's a fantastic school district. So that kind of drives it. But no, I have my older brother lives in Mount Lebanon, and they would never consider anywhere else. People,
it's hard to get them out of that bubble.
Yes.
I'm going to get them out of the bubble.
Good luck.
We'll see, Matt.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll be calling you in a couple years. You can help us. Well, before we go, we always like to end the podcast with some singing. How do you feel about that? Do you like to sing at all?
Sure.
Oh, what a great enthusiastic answer. Usually people look at me funny, but all we have to do is sing the Armina Stone jingle, the Ooh, Armina Stone.
Okay,
and we'll
sounds good
do
to
it
me.
together. We're going to sound so good.
Okay.
Okay, here we go, everybody. And 3, 2, 1.
Ooh, Armina Stone.
Yeah, that was great. Thanks, Matt. Thanks for coming on today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.